job. We got other things we work on too.
This is not a full-time job? I beg to differ. I think it is a full-time job.
It was yesterday when we had that whatever bot in our Discord.
Yeah, that was some. That's the craziest thing. That's the first time I've never experienced that ever, and that went a bit haywire. So.
Yeah, that was weird. I was on the bike, pulled into my parents' house, and had like 9 text messages from you. I was like, "Oh shit, what's going on?" So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everybody was kind of weirding out about it, and so I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that we were getting it handled. So.
Oh yeah.
That was the only thing about that. I was just a little bit concerned about it, but
sure,
all good. We got it all squared away. So.
Yeah. Man, I'm tired.
Already?
I was up at 4 this morning. I rode from Nashville to here this morning before work.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. I'm like laying down 325 miles and by
So
10 o'clock in the morning.
You rode home before work?
Yeah. I mean, I started a little late.
Okay.
Worked a little late, but yeah, I was here. I got rolled in the house about 10.
Damn.
Yep.
Well, you earned your keep today, then, didn't you?
I think so. I had to make some tea for this because I'm on the struggle bus. So yeah, working, and then picked up the kiddo from soccer practice because school starts next week, and
no shit. School starts for you guys next week already.
Yeah, she starts next week. Hell, everyone in Tennessee started last week. This is their second week of school.
Oh man,
that's way too early.
Yeah, that's
so we're getting in that routine. We got to go school supply shopping tomorrow, so pray for me. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, I'm not. We are. Let me see.
When do y'all start?
27th.
Okay.
Yep. And
that's pretty nice.
We are on the, I have only one left at home. So my other one starts college. And she starts, I'm trying to think when she starts. I think move-in is end of next week, something like that.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
So yeah, it's we're in a couple of different transition cycles here that we're going to be facing. So it's a little bittersweet, I'll say.
Yeah.
So yeah, because I mean, you go through all of that preparing for this time, right? I think that's what you're doing. You're preparing for when your kids are going to be going off to college and kind of that whole scenario. And sure. I don't know that I was, how do I want to say it? I don't know if I was fully ready for what was next. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
And I think my daughter's ready, and I think that my wife's ready, or they're getting ready, and they have been kind of busy preparing and doing all the things that they're trying to do on their end. So that's been pretty fun. But
sure.
I think I've just been, I don't know, putting off the inevitable, maybe. You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah.
So
I imagine that's could be a lot to process, I would think.
Yeah.
Well, for the whole family, too, even your younger daughter, right? Like, of course, I don't know. Is your daughter that's going off to college? Is she's going off, like not living at home, living on campus?
She's living on campus, so she's going to be out of the house completely. I mean, as much as living on campus is when the college is in your hometown, right? So So
Gotcha.
she's
Okay.
not like going away thousands of miles, right?
Sure,
So
sure.
she's going to be essentially moving out of our house and into a dorm, but living at home. So or
Okay.
living in the dorm, but like, so it's not like she has to pack for like 2 seasons or anything like that. She can bring her fall stuff
Sure.
and then like come home and get her winter clothes and all that kind of stuff. But I just think it's that, you know, you get to that transition phase. I don't remember who I was saying it to, like right when you really start to like dig your kids because they're becoming young adults and they're like kind of fun to hang around and interesting to talk to, and they have their, you know, they have their own opinions and ideas, and they're ready to like discuss real world situations and things. And you know, it's like you're cool now and I want you to stick around, and now is when you want to fly away and go do your own thing. So
Sure.
you know, I think that's the biggest thing. But you know, that's part of it, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, for sure. I mean, I've got 5 years before that's a reality. It's reality to me. I can't imagine though. Like that's just, you know, I mean, also like just, you know, digging your kids or something be cool. They're starting to like you again, whatever the case is.
Right.
You're used to them being there every day.
Yep.
For their entire life, right? So
Yeah.
not seeing them every day, I'm not going to like that. And I mean,
Yeah.
I guess I went through part of that going through a divorce, right? Like
Yeah.
not seeing Sophia every day. But I still could see her a lot, especially, you know, during sporting, you know, when there's sports going on. I mean, if it's not my weekend, I probably see her both days because there's probably multiple games on both days.
Right.
So,
Right.
but for your case, it could be a week or two.
Yeah, you know, well, we started this tradition a few years ago when my dad died, and we call him family dinner. So like on Sundays we get together with my mom and my 2 sisters at my mom and dad's house, and then my family, and we all sit down and have like put your phones away, you know, all of the things, like no screens, no TV, no whatever, and we sit down and we have dinner and we talk. And
Okay.
we and it's really brought us together, you know, closer as a family, and that's been really great because like we've discussed that as a family, like, you know, this is like one of the reasons why my dad died was to bring us all closer together, you know. So it's been that part of it's been really good. It's been really cathartic for our family and that kind of stuff. But you know, I think here's my take on it too, is that the world's not the same, right? The world's not the same when I went to college. The world's not the same when you were in college, when you were in high school.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I mean, we're different ages, but we're not so far apart in age that we're on different ends of the spectrum. I mean, I ride with a guy who just turned 30, and like
Okay.
his wife, he's also a newlywed, and his wife had all these black balloons and everything at his party, and I was like, he's 30, he's a kid. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like, I was like, yeah, you know, come talk to me in 20 more years when you have 20 more years of life under your belt and experiences and miles on your body. I mean, not just motorcycle miles, but just miles on your body, right?
Yeah.
And,
Sure.
and so, you know, that really made a huge difference for me, thinking about it like that, and then thinking about how my daughters both are dealing with the world in a way that didn't exist when I was their age. Welcome to MotoState Podcast, where we talk about motorcycles, life, and everything in between.
Sure. And I'm sure your parents could say the same thing, right?
Well, oh man, you know, not really, right? Because I think that I think that the gap between the world when I was my daughter's age and now versus my parents when my parents were that age, and you know, and now is here's the thing. Our parents graduated and moved into an analog world, and we graduated and moved into an analog world, right? Our kids live in a digital world, and
Gotcha.
and so that to me, that's a bigger gap. You know what I mean? Like when our parents were in high school and there was a bully, what did you do with a bully? You walked up and punched him in the nose,
Right. Sure.
right? Those bullies now are behind a screen somewhere where you don't see them. And so they're emboldened. They say worse things. They feel braver. You can be bullied by somebody that you don't even know from a place that you've never been, by somebody who's never even seen you before. You know what I mean? Or been in your
Sure.
presence before. So, and inherently that brings on its own, like, just crazy set of challenges for parenting.
Sure. Yeah, I guess I agree with that to a certain extent. I think about like my dad, when I like say at your oldest age, your oldest daughter's age, for me it was just like her, except I lived at home my first year of school and then moved out of my parents' house. My dad at that age was trying to keep his GPA up high enough so he didn't get drafted for a war.
Sure.
So, I mean, I just different generations and different circumstances, but still a lot of challenges. They look different, and I'm not saying one's better than the other. Or they're exactly the same. It's apples and oranges.
Yeah,
but,
no, for sure.
Yeah, but certainly, I mean, I guess our generation's kind of unique in that we're a generation that went from analog to digital.
Right.
So
Well,
we had to convert that.
We invented it, right? And then,
Right.
And then we had to adopt it. But I'll just give you an example. At what point did you and your ex-wife have the conversation that Sophia was going to get her first phone?
Well, gosh, she was 13? So 11. We started talking about when she was 11, and it was she got it before her 12th birthday.
So okay, so what grade was she in?
So that was 6th grade.
6th grade. Okay. So that was the same age that we did in our house. So it was
Yeah.
the summer between 5th and 6th grade for both of my girls. And I can tell you that both of them were the last ones in their grades to get phones.
Oh wow! Okay.
That all of the kids, many of them had phones in 3rd grade.
Oh my gosh!
That's what
wild.
That's what I say. But waiting until the summer between their 5th and 6th grade year was a painful process. They were the last ones to get phones, and so but here's the wrinkle. So you add that to the list of things that you have to monitor as a parent.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So when we were kids, you could go outside and do something with your friends, and that something that you did might not follow you for your whole life.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
These kids will, you actually have to parent your children on what it's like to have a digital profile,
Right.
because that digital profile follows you wherever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, because I'll give you an example. They say that by the time a girl turns 16, 80% of 16-year-old girls have been asked for naked pictures of themselves by someone in the digital community. So
I don't
someone
doubt that.
What's that?
I said I don't doubt that.
Someone that they've talked to, boy, girl, adult, whatever, right? By the time they're
Sure.
16, 80%. And that statistic was like, man, that statistic is at least 5 or 6 years old when I read about it, because it was when my oldest was, kind of around that time.
Sure.
So, it's just that lends itself to a whole set of challenges. So, what did you, as an example, what kind of restraints did you levy on Sophia for her phone?
The understanding that her mother or I could look at her phone anytime we need to. Look through the text messages, pictures, whatever. There's also no social media. She still doesn't have social media.
Okay.
Well, so she has one app called Lock It. So it's similar to Snap. Cannot screenshot pictures. They disappear within a shorter amount of time. A lot more parental control from what we can tell.
Sure.
And but that was the biggest thing. And then obviously, like, when it's time for bed, phone doesn't turn off. That can be your alarm clock. That's fine, but you cannot use it. And then we installed a monitoring app on it.
Okay.
That gives us an update every day, and
to make sure that she's not using it at 3:00 in the morning, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, or it looks for keywords and phrases as well.
Okay.
If she's she loves YouTube and looking through YouTube shorts and whatnot, so it'll key on certain words. It's pretty sensitive. I'd rather it be more overly sensitive than not.
Right.
Because she'll watch a video that says, because it'll provide the link to the video, and you get a daily update.
Okay.
So I'll see it. I'm like, okay, what's this? And it's just some girl or some boy or whoever joking about something.
Sure.
And it not even a off-putting comment or a bad joke. Just it just picked up on that. Oh, I screwed up. I want to. I should smack myself in the face. Oh well. Self-harm. It's like, okay.
Right.
But I'd rather it be oversensitive than not.
Okay.
So those are tough. I'll tell you, as a parent, though, it's tough trying to explain to your kiddo that, hey, I'm not worried about you, but I'm worried about everybody else.
Sure.
It's not you, it's them.
Sure.
And that's why. And so we've had a lot of conversations around that, and some tough conversations Sophie and I have, and it's she looks at it sometimes as an invasion of privacy. She doesn't use those words, but I think that's where she's going with it. And I have to explain to her that I'm doing this because I feel like that's what's best for her. I need to make sure. And she's experienced bullying, verbal, physical, in person, and via kids messenger on Facebook and other things like that, and via text. So definitely very, very sensitive to that at our household, because she went through a really, really tough spot there for a couple of years.
Sure.
With a bully who's thankfully no longer at the school.
Sure.
So
sure. Yeah, we've had a little bit of that. I would say that for the most part, we didn't. So we did some of those things that you're talking about. We limited. For us, it was actually, I would rather them not have the temptation. So during the school year, my youngest, as my older daughter got into high school, I wanted her to start to learn to self-manage her own time. Mm-hmm. And so when she got to be about a sophomore, I think in high school, freshman, sophomore, we kind of really lessened up the restriction of having the phone in her room. But my youngest daughter, she'll have to bring up her phone and put it on the counter and plug it in to be charged, and for her phone and her iPad. So no screens in the room when it's time to go to bed.
Okay.
So if she wants to read a book, she can read a book, because what I'm trying to instill in her is to learn to manage that. Hey, I'm tired, I should go to sleep. Or I'm not tired, I'll read a book, or I'm going to crochet, or whatever it is that she's going to do, as opposed to just imposing that, very stringent, like throw the hammer down, 9 o'clock, lights out, in your bed, covers up, you're going to sleep. If I see your face, you know what I mean? Like
Sure.
that kind of thing. It's more of like, 9 o'clock, time for bed. And then if you're going to read or you're going to whatever, the consequences that she has to suffer is how tired she's going to be the next day.
Yeah.
Right. And
For
so
sure.
that's the lesson learned, right? Then the next day she doesn't stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever it is. So I want them to start to self-manage that. And then as they got older, we kind of lessen the restriction of having the phone in the room, just because there's so much activity, even when they're seniors, when they're Like,
Sure.
when my oldest daughter would be in shows and stuff, she wouldn't be getting home till 8, 9 o'clock at night. And then she's got homework to do. And if she had a group project or whatever, you have to use her phones for things like that. So we kind of worked on that a little bit. We're not quite as strict with social media. My daughters have social media accounts, but they are required to. They can't have. Their accounts have to be private, or at least that we have to be allowed to be in them. And then kind of the same thing like you is that I respect my daughter's space and privacy unless they give me a reason to not respect their space and privacy, right? And so it's like, I've had those conversations with them like, yep, this is your bedroom, except this is my house. And I pay the bills, and so if I want to go through your drawers in your bedroom, I'll do it.
Sure.
Right? But just don't give me a reason to do it, and we won't have that issue. Same thing. Don't give me a reason to go through your phone, and we won't have that issue. So those kind of things I think that we're pretty open about. It's same thing with the phone, right? I've used the phone as then a method of discipline. If you know what I mean, like you're not going to bed at night, you're not bringing me your electronics. Give them to me, and I'll put them up in my closet. When they were younger, that was kind of the first crutch that we used because it was very effective.
Sure.
You take away their phone, you've cut off all their contact with their friends. I mean, nobody has a house phone anymore, right? So they can't talk to their friends.
Yep.
They can't. You can do that and not even ground them. Yeah, go outside and play. Well, they can't get a hold of their friends because they don't have their phone.
Sure.
So, and then the other thing that we always said to them too is that they have to keep their location services on their phone so we can digitally track them. And I am not a conspiracy theorist, so I don't give a shit. Like, I send my location to my wife. I send my location to my mom, to my kids. I spend so much time traveling on the road for my job or on my bike that I want my people to know where I am, because my wife has done that before. I'm on the road and we've stopped for a little bit longer than she would expect on a motorcycle trip, and she'll text me and say, "You guys all right?" "Yep. We're good. We just, we're getting a little tired and just stopped at this gas station longer. We're stopping for lunch, whatever it might be."
Yeah. Well, especially with Sophia. So where she goes to school in this neighborhood, we don't, but most of the kids live in that neighborhood. So she spends a lot of time after school, or especially this summer, running around the neighborhood, hopping in between houses. They walk over to Starbucks and get their mocha, blah, blah, shitty thing, way too expensive drink, blah, blah, blah.
Right,
so it's just good to know where she's at times, especially if she's not responding to a text. And I don't think she ever does that on purpose, but, she just, it's in her pocket or in her purse or whatever, and they're running around doing stuff. So if I don't hear back from her in a reasonable amount of time, at least I can see where she's at and make sure everything's okay. Because look, man, the world's a crazy place, and it's one of the safest neighborhoods in St. Louis City. But damn, you just never know. That doesn't keep everybody out.
No. So. Well, and we don't fuck around either. Like, I don't give a shit what you're doing. Answer my text message or my phone call. Like, right. I don't care. I don't care if you had a movie. If I text you, answer my message, right?
Right.
Because that's just those are the rules. Like, and I'm not fucking around with those rules. So. And my girls are good about it. And I'm not saying that like to be a dick or to be overbearing, but, that's the world we live in, and I want them to abide by that. And really, more than anything, is I just want them to be safe. You know what I mean? My wife and I have actually had conversations about that. When my daughter goes away to college, my wife said, "I'm going to have to resist the temptation to check on her all the time."
Yeah.
And I said, you're going to check on her once, and that location's going to say ATO, and you're not going to want to know that she's at a frat party, right?
That's right, man. That's right.
Here's the thing. Like, I'm a realist. I know what I was like when I was that age, and she's my daughter, and she's my wife's daughter. Yeah. So like, I'm not an idiot. I've already had that conversation with her. I'm like, here's the deal. I know you're going to do some things, right? I want you to know a couple things. Number one, don't take an open drink. Number two, if you find yourself in a situation where you're uncomfortable or you're scared or you need your mom or dad, you call us and I will kick down a fucking door. I don't care.
Right.
If I walked up to a fraternity and they're like, I'm not letting you in, I'm going to be like, my daughter's texted me. She's not safe and she's in there. You got two choices. You can let me in or I'm going to kick this door down. You can pick whichever one of those consequences you want to suffer because either one of them's not going to be good for you.
Yep.
So, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not fucking around. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to be a tough guy. I'm just saying, like, that's my daughter. Open the door. So, you know,
for sure.
And I just want her to know too, like, call me, no questions asked. And if she doesn't want to call me, call my sister, right? My sister will go get her, and then she doesn't have to feel whatever way she might feel about that. But, so it's just really, those kind of things. You hear the horror stories, and you hope that your children stay safe, and you pray that they do, right? You kind of, that's the situation. But the days of being able, like, I think about some of the shit I did when I was a kid, and I'm glad that I did not grow up in the digital world. I'm glad that there's no record of some of the shit I did.
For sure, yeah.
You know what I mean? And not that I was running around breaking the law and doing stuff I could have been arrested for, or maybe I was. But either way, I didn't want a digital record of it,
Well, there's a lot of those things you want it to be a distant memory, not something that you can pull up readily on YouTube any moment and see.
Right. Well, dude.
Or anyone else to see, for that matter.
When you're a kid, you're learning and you make mistakes and you do, you know what I mean? Like, I just decided one night, me and my buddy decided if the fucking Dukes of Hazzard was real. And I wanted to see if you could get all four tires off the ground on a car.
Yeah.
Turns out you can, by the way.
You can. We did the same thing, except we crammed 6 people in a 2-door Sentra. And
wow, you did it in a Sentra. Okay.
Yeah. Well, you hit a ditch fast enough.
Yeah.
You'll get airborne.
Yeah. No, I did it. I did it in
the Sentra won't roll very well after that, but it'll.
I did it in a full size 1978 Chevy Malibu with a 350 and 4-ball carburetor.
Jesus.
Which was all. That's the car I had for high school. My dad brings me over to this house, and it was like this old grandma car, and it was like the square body Malibu.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch that movie with Kenny Rogers, Six Pack?
Yeah.
It was that car, dude. Just and it actually, when you popped the trunk, there was air shocks, and the valve for the air shocks were right in the trunk. So you just like put your air thing there and just blew up the back end, right? So I had the 5-spoke chrome wheels and Cobra GT white letter tires and tinted windows, and I actually got into a tiny fender bender. And because the car was in 1978 in the 90s, they were going to total it, and so we brought it. It got taken to the junkyard. My dad's like, he negotiates with the junkyard guy, and he's like, hey, what do you say we give you the insurance money for this, and you repair it and paint it? And the guy's like, yeah. So I got it painted black with red pinstripes and all from the junkyard to give him the insurance money for totaling the car when it was literally a dented fender.
Oh my gosh!
So he threw a new fender on it, slapped the paint on it, and put some red pinstripes on. Oh yeah, it was.
That sounds way better than my '92 Ford Taurus. So
yeah, well,
I was safe though.
Yeah, for sure it was safe. But yours wasn't a SHO, was it?
No, I didn't have the SHO.
Okay, because the Taurus SHO was a mean son of a bitch.
Hell yeah, man! Dual exhaust.
Yeah.
And
bigger
motor.
Yeah, so I mean that was my high school. That was my kick around car in high school. I was blessed to have and it was so funny because we went and looked, and we went and looked at this car. My dad goes, "You can't get in trouble with this car." He's like, "It's a grandma car, whatever." And and my dad's not very mechanical, right? So he saw this grandma car, like a square body grandma car, and I was like, "Dad," I go, "You know what this is, right?" Like after we bought it, we get it home, and he's like, "What?" And I go, "This is a race car." He's like, "What do you mean?" And I walked over and I opened up the hood and I go, "Dad, that's a 350 Chevy with a 4-rail carburetor." I'm like, "I could light up these tires for half of a street block." He's like, "Oh shit, what did I just do?"
Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. So no, it was a lot of fun, and we were able to kind of find our way, but that's just. That's not the same world. Like I actually got to experience, and maybe you will too. I got to experience some of my daughter's life through her social media. You know what I mean? Like the time with her friends and when they were hanging out and they would make silly videos and all these kind of things. You kind of get to experience a little bit more. It's like as a parent now, because of the digital age, you get to peek behind the curtain where our parents never really got that opportunity. You know what I mean? Like they didn't get to see us hang with our friends or that because there was no imprint. It didn't exist. And so I like that. I think it also makes your kids more worldly. I had no idea what was going on in the world. I didn't give a shit about politics. I didn't give a shit about any of that, right? Sure. And all of that stuff. I mean, you know, one of my oldest daughters, one of her favorite YouTubers is I think he's on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and all the things, but he's like a 19-year-old that is like heavy into political commentary. And
interesting. Okay.
And he debates. Like, you know, he would say he's liberal, I would say, and he debates non-liberal people, and he only debates on fact, not feeling, right?
Sure.
So he's really big on knowing his stuff and bringing factual information to the table, and not one-sided. Like, he is all about, like, facts and figures and data and, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. So he's not trying to
Sounds like he's trying to take the emotion out of it.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
hey.
Well, he like, you know, like I'll give you a perfect example, and I'm just going to dip my toe in politics for a minute because it's the hypocrisy that I have a problem with, right? And so I'll give you an example of that thing. So 25 years ago, we impeached a president who got a blowjob in the Oval Office and lied about it, right? 25 years later, we elect a president who pays off strippers and porn stars before he gets into office, right? Totally opposite ends of the spectrum. They're both on opposite sides of the political spectrum, but yet as a nation, our moral compass tipped both directions. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yep.
And so what's good is not good, and what's good is good, right? And so I think that part of it, by what I mean by they're more worldly, is they have access to all of this information that we didn't have access to.
Oh, sure. They have access at their fingertips daily.
Right.
To all the information they want.
Right.
It's wild.
And information that we don't want them to have access to also, right?
Yeah, you know, that's been an interesting part of the technology world with Sophia is that she'll bring up something. Well, I saw this on YouTube or whatever. I was like, well, that doesn't really sound right. Let's look it up.
Sure.
Let's look this up.
Sure.
And so we do, and you know, it's oftentimes the story is real, but it's missing some details.
Okay.
You know, it was told to get clickbait.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. So
sure. Yep.
I think she gets that she'll start telling a story and then she'll be like, well, I mean, that's how they presented it. You're right. That's how they presented it.
Sure.
May be true, may not, maybe halfway true. I don't know.
Right.
We'll see.
Right. Well, and I think the other thing too that we get a glimpse into from that perspective too is, I think that our children are going to grow up in a world where they are more savvy about what's real and what's fake. You know what I mean? Where there are many people that see a picture and automatically assume that what they're looking at that picture is truth, right?
Yeah, they're going to have to be with AI,
right?
Right? I mean, that's what you're going with that. But yeah.
And our kids are more savvy about looking at things and being like, yeah, you know, that girl is photoshopped, or that, you know, whatever is this, or that's not actually our, you know, whoever our you know, that's not our governor.
We're not this
whatever.
Ugly. It's AI.
Yeah, exactly.
Ryan and I look much better than this in person. It's just AI.
I do this for effect. Exactly.
It's all right. I hope y'all feel sorry for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Playing the sympathy card.
Yeah, exactly. So you know, they have a little bit more savviness about them with things like that. You know, when it was really funny because I think when we were kids, there was a lot more focus on the parts of media that were prevalent, right? Like, I think you heard a lot more. I mean, we came through that time when they were trying to ban certain types of music. And
Sure.
when they put rating labels on music, do you remember that? When they
Oh, yeah.
when they rated albums, that kind of shit just doesn't exist anymore.
No.
You know what I mean? And people don't even talk about it, and it's not even policed anymore. It's gone away completely.
Yeah.
But there's so many different venues for consuming music now that it would be impossible for there to be any follow up or follow through. So they've moved on to the next thing, right?
Yep.
And so the other thing that's so different now too is that the news cycle is literally instantaneous.
Yes.
And it doesn't. It's like we move on to the next bad thing. That's what I like to say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when we were kids, the news was a reporting of what happened, and that's what it was, right?
Yes.
Now we get a reporting of what happened and the commentary on their feelings on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sure.
So
We get. Yeah. There's a lot more opinion-based reporting now.
Yep.
And then obviously, headlines have always been clickbait, even before
Yep.
there was clicking, right?
Yep, for sure.
Make you buy
attention
that
grabbing.
newspaper.
Yep, yep.
Right. Buy that magazine.
Yep.
Look at tabloids.
Yep.
You know.
Absolutely. Yep.
But yeah, it's certainly gone a step further, and what I see too is that since everything's so instantaneous with news, and I use that term very loosely and very broadly, that things that are reported even on your local, CBS affiliate or NBC affiliate, whoever, it's shit we don't need to know about. Who gives a shit? Mm-hmm. There's probably at least a third of that stuff. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Who gives a shit? But they've got to, they got to keep those advertisers, getting the clicks to help with the advertising, and show those analytics, and get people to click on the website and that article. And it's 3 paragraphs, and at the end of the day, that was the worst 30 seconds of my day. It was potentially reading that.
Right. Well, and like I said, I remember when the news used to have a reporting element to it, that they just reported fact, right? And then there was usually like a feel-good story or something thrown in there that was like maybe uplifting. You know what I mean? Or,
Sure.
There was this great charity event or something like that, right? There was always some part of it that they were trying to build a story around, something that wasn't just the news that they were reporting, maybe something local that's happening, or there's a farmer's market downtown, or there's a concert coming to town, whatever it is, right? Not
Sure.
not everything was just how would I say it? Not everything was on to the next disaster. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
today, I was working in my home office. I walk out. My wife's like, "Oh, did you hear that? A factory in Pennsylvania blew up, and they're digging people out of this factory." And I was like, "Yeah, I didn't know that." And there was just a couple 2 days ago there was bombings in Israel or whatever. It's just like this constant barrage of what shitty thing that happened in the world is coming next.
Yep.
And we aren't, and we're not inundated with anything that's uplifting or positive or builds you up or whatever. We're inundated with all this negative energy all the time. And I think that, I think that our kids are living in this world of this constant, like, reverberation of this negative energy. And so, think about it when you were a kid. Did you know anybody that you went to high school with that truly would say to you, I have anxiety?
I didn't even know what anxiety was in high school.
Right.
I didn't know the definition of it.
Right, exactly. Now, half the kids that my daughter goes to school with are on medication for anxiety. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, when I look back on it, when I was 16 years old, what did I have to be anxious about? Dude, there were so many things that I was thinking about, and none of them had anything to do with me being anxious. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so I think that this I didn't make this word up.
I'll challenge you on that though. What could give someone anxiety at 15, 16 years old won't look like anxiety to a 45 or 50-year-old person today, right?
Sure.
So, I mean, it's all relative to what's going on in your life and your age. You know, I mean, I had some anxiety in high school. Now I look back on it around tests. I always got nervous around tests.
Sure.
Big football games, big soccer games. My high school girlfriend, there's some anxiety at times around our relationship. So, in the grand scheme of things, when I look back on it, I wasn't going to be playing any college ball. It was a high school girlfriend. We weren't going to get married, you know? So,
right.
The bullshit between me and my friends at times was just that, but it meant a lot at that time because that was what was important to me at that time of my life.
Right. Perspective, right? So you have
Right.
you have some perspective, and that helps you kind of manage that for sure, right? But I also think that we I agree with that. I mean, I think that's a good assessment of that. But I don't think that we were in a place in society that we were managing that with medication for people. You know what I mean? Like that's the part that I'm just a little bit shocked by.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we can go down a rabbit hole of, there's medicine to cure everything, right? Instead of, as we talked about with Ashley, finding the right therapist or just finding a safe place to talk to someone and learn how to communicate first, and then finding that safe person or people to talk to. That's a whole nother rabbit hole to go down. Let me ask you though. So you've got one going into college.
Yep.
What was it like with your daughter's first, or if she's had a relationship in high school or a high school boyfriend? What was that like as a dad?
You mean like through like social media and like that aspect of it? Or
Well, just, her bringing a boy home, if that's happened,
Yep.
bringing a boy home to meet mom and dad.
Yeah, she's had a
and
couple
her
of-
actually dating.
Yeah, she's had a couple. My oldest has had a couple of boyfriends. So the first thing is that, and I told her this too, is that I am perfectly comfortable with her boyfriends being terrified of me.
Perfect.
I'm fine with it. And I'm not trying to be their best friend because there's no ring on that
Correct.
finger. You know what I mean?
Correct. Yep.
And until there is, she's mine.
Well, and also that respect has to be earned
Well,
at the end of the day, right?
And respect is a two-way street. Like, I'm just not going to automatically disrespect you, right?
Right.
But-
yeah, not, and I'm not insinuating that. No.
Right. But I think the other thing is that, come into my house, know your place. This is my
Yes.
house. This is my space. I say what I want. I do what I want. But I'm not trying to, I'm not bringing some kid into a room and duct taking him to the floor and dropping scorpions on him or anything like that.
Cleaning your shotgun.
Right. Well, in upper Midwest, right, all of these kids hunt, so that's just not effective.
Right,
But when
sure.
they're coming over, if you're like throwing shovels and black plastic bags in the back of your pickup truck, that's a whole nother level than cleaning a shotgun. So I mean that
Start
I
digging
think
the hole in the back.
that's a
Ask
lot
them to
more
help
fear.
you dig the hole in the backyard.
Exactly. So I think that there is for me, it was really more about how they communicate that I was not ready for, which was I'm going to ask you out over text messaging, or I may ask you to prom over text messaging. I may break up with you by text message. You know what I mean? Like, that shit's disrespectful, right? But it's a two-way street. Like, my daughter has been on the receiving end of it, and she was one that did it too. So she broke up with somebody over text. But they still end up having to face each other because they always have to exchange shit. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
you had my sweatshirt.
Well, they still go to
you-
school together too, right?
Right. Yep. And so they still have to learn to navigate what that process looks like. I can tell you that just as a father of daughters, I'm not a fan of it. of them bringing boys over. But I think that if that role was reversed, I think if I had boys, I would feel the same way, right? Like, who is this hoe that's coming over here now? But
Sure.
you know what I mean? And that's not to say that all teenage girls are hoes, because they're not. But I think that you always think the worst of that person that's coming in. But then you have to like evaluate your own like thought process, because I'm like, oh, well, if my daughter's bringing home an asshole, what does that say about my daughter, right? Then what does that say about me as a parent?
Yeah, what did I teach her or didn't teach her?
Oh,
Where did I fuck up?
Yeah, where did I fuck up? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, this kid's
Yep.
kid's a loser. Why does she think that's okay? Doesn't she value herself more than that? Now, that wasn't necessarily the case. And then you get into that breakup phase, and all you want to do is just like circle your arms around them and protect them, but you have to like let them navigate that process, right? They have to feel
Sure.
the feelings. They have to go through it, where you just want to go find this kid and throttle him, right?
Sure.
But guess what? He is also someone else's child,
Right.
And so, and in fact, for us, we were on both ends of the spectrum. So we had my daughter's first boyfriend. She dated him for 2.5 years.
Oh, wow.
So when they broke up, it was like we broke up with them. You know what I mean? We went from
Sure.
like seeing this
Yeah.
kid all the time, sharing meals and having him over at family events and the whole thing till he was gone, right? No contact with the
Poof.
kid, no contact with the
Done.
family, gone. So that was weird, right? And then it was like, and then the next one was short lived. It was like 6 months and they broke up, and she was probably a little bit more brokenhearted about the second one, because it was more unexpected. Like, she
Gotcha.
kind of liked him, and I think that he didn't reciprocate those feelings. So
Gotcha. Yeah, I think, to go back to what you're saying, like, oh, did I fuck, bringing home some asshole.
Right.
Like, oh, where did I fuck up? I
Yep.
think that's one of the hardest things. I think that leads to one of the hardest things for me in parenting is, giving your kids enough space to make those mistakes
Yep.
and learn those life lessons.
Yep.
Instead, you want to just show them the way, put your arms around them, guide them in the right direction. And sometimes you got to just be like, hey, they're going to have to figure this out on their own. And you see the train coming, right?
Yep.
And you can't stop them because they're not going to learn. They're not going to learn anything.
Right.
So. I'm
Well, and here's the thing. It's like, I'm going to go into the deep end of the pool. It's like sex, right? I'm not naive enough to think that my daughter's going to wait until marriage, or either one of my daughters might, and maybe they will and maybe they won't. But really what I want them to do is have enough respect for themselves that they've consciously made a decision to do whatever it is that they're going to do. And the person that they're sharing that moment with is somebody that they care about and cares about them, regardless of what that looks like for them. That's what I hope I've instilled in them, is that they've made good choices and that they respect themselves, because ultimately they're making those choices. It's like, whether they're going to drink or smoke marijuana or, whatever it might be, that you have to, I don't want to use the phrase, give them enough rope to hang themselves, because that's a horrible analogy. But you want to give them enough room to make choices. But the other thing I think that I've seen other parents make this mistake, and I'm not judging anybody out there, but I think that one of the ways that parents make mistakes is that when their kids do fuck up, that the parents just naturally bail them out of whatever trouble that they're in or whatever situation that they're in.
Sure.
And you don't teach your children responsibility by doing that. If you don't teach them ownership for their behavior, if you don't teach them responsibility for their behavior, they're always going to be waiting for that person to come and bail them out of whatever trouble they're
Absolutely.
in, whatever
Yep.
situation they're in. And then they don't become problem solvers. They just become somebody else's problem.
That was me. I got bailed out way too many times. And, I was late to the game, so to say, in becoming a problem solver. Really good problem solver now. but I had a lot, I had a lot of bailouts from mom and dad over the years.
Sure. And
when I was younger.
Okay, and so put that into perspective, Luke. When did you figure that out? Like, how old were you when you figured that out?
I think it was when I was probably late 20s, mid-late 20s when I moved to St. Louis. For me, it was like moving 500 miles away.
Right.
Although,
Right.
I mean, I know I could call them right now if I needed something.
Right.
I don't.
Right.
I hope I never do.
Right. Right.
But moving here was like that. I looked at it one as, you know, for me, it was kind of a sudden move for, you know, I was like, I'm going to do this. And it caught a lot of people off guard. And so I looked at it as I wanted to prove, I knew there was a lot of people that didn't think it was a good idea or doubted that this was going to work. And I wanted to prove them wrong.
Sure.
Yeah. I'm stubborn. So,
Sure.
so that's where that thought process came from. As
Sure.
a byproduct of just not wanting to prove people wrong that doubted me.
Right. And that's a slippery slope too, right? While that can be a powerful motivator, it can also be the wrong reason to make decisions.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. No.
And I'm not saying you made a wrong decision or not, but it is tricky.
Right.
It's a slippery slope, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it comes to a point, are you going to die on that hill or not, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's
Yep.
so, you know, and I think, you know, go back to what you were saying about, you know, whether it's sex or whatever is, you know, trust, you know, it comes down to trust, right? So I kind of started that with Sophia, no conversation about sex, but definitely about like, you know, when you become friends with someone, make sure that you really trust them if you're going to share something private, a secret or whatever.
Right.
Because once you tell somebody something, you've lost control of that because
Right.
they can tell anybody at any time they want.
Right.
So I've taken that approach, you know, that way, you know, hey, it gets to the point where we have the conversation, first time you drink, make sure you do that around people you trust.
Right.
If you decide to smoke weed or whatever, take a gummy, I don't care. You know, I can't control it, but make sure you're around people you trust.
Well, because
And hopefully that it gets ingrained in her mind that when you make important decisions in your life that you're
Right.
around people you're trusting, or you're around people to talk through that decision making process with people you trust.
right. Well, and here's where that goes one step further, which is in this digital age. Well, I'll use my youngest daughter because I've used yours already a couple times, but I'm just going to say my youngest daughter Mia plays volleyball. So say she continues to play volleyball and she gets to high school and she goes to an after game party and there's some drinking there and they take a bunch of pictures and then they send those pictures to the coach. What do you think's going to happen? No more volleyball, right?
And she's gonna get a little vacation from school too.
Right, right. Well, that kind of shit didn't exist when we were kids. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like that's not how you got caught. You got caught when the cops busted the party you were at.
That's right.
And so like that's what I mean about how you have to, like, you know, coach them, like you said, make sure you're around people you can trust, but coach them because there's cameras everywhere, right? I don't know
Sure.
if you've ever heard of this statistic, but this statistic exists. It says right now, I think it's every 90 days, more photos are taken than from the time that photography was taken or was invented.
Jesus.
So every 90 days in the world, we take more photos than from the time that photography was invented until that point. Like that's how
crazy.
much more content and photography is happening right now, and photography and videography. Because if you think about it, like the cameras on a iPhone 16 Pro Max right now is phenomenal. It is a amazing piece of technology that can do so many amazing things. And so, you know, I mean, you can do 4K video on a phone or even higher.
Well, let's take photography out of the equation. I mean, I don't know about you, but I see something like if I'm walking through somewhere, or if I'm at a concert venue and I see a concert poster for a concert coming up, I'll take a quick picture of it to remind myself to make sure that I get tickets to that. Or I'm working around the house and measuring something and need to go outside to cut it. I can take a picture of the measurement, go outside, you know. I mean, between that and then, like you said, just the capability of these cameras on phones and Lord knows everyone else, you know, people in the content creation world, they've all got a Insta 360 or a GoPro or a DJI or whatever, and a drone and all this stuff. I mean, yeah, it's crazy how much. I never really thought about it. It's crazy how much video and photos are out there.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Instagram. I mean, that's all it is.
Right. No, I agree, and I think because that's just it, right? To your children can share private moments or intimate moments or whatever they might be with somebody, but that's where you have to have that conversation because that exists forever. And if you give that to somebody you don't trust, then that information that is with somebody that you don't trust and that exists forever, right?
Yeah, I mean, how many to that point, like how many times have we seen over the last 10 years in college sports where someone digs up some, 20-year-old kid's post on Twitter when he was 13, and saying something derogatory or whatever, just out of hand, and man, it wrecks that kid, at least for a while or maybe forever.
Right. Well, do you remember there was a football player, I believe he played for Notre Dame. He was like a linebacker a number of years ago, maybe already 8 years ago, and he was catfished.
Catfished, yeah.
And had a completely fake girlfriend all the way through. Mateo, yeah, had a completely, and this was like a nationally prominent sports figure that was being catfished, and he thought this person was real. I mean, he thought he had a real relationship with somebody, and that shit followed him. Manti Te'o.
Yeah, Manti Te'o, that's right.
That shit followed him, to the point where it damaged his reputation so severely that by the time he got to the NFL, he disappeared. Nobody talked about him anymore.
8 years ago, that was 13 years ago.
See how fast
he dedicated his Heisman finalist season to his girlfriend, who actually didn't exist.
Yeah. So I mean that it's just like things like that. And I remember that there was actually an MTV show on for a while called Catfished.
Yeah,
where they
I forgot about that. Yeah.
They connected people with tried to help them get through the situation when they were catfished, right? And so it's a really, like I said, this digital world for kids now is so different. And as a parent, you have to be able to navigate it. You have to know. It was funny. My wife had a conversation with somebody she was teaching with, and this person said to her, how do you get your daughters to do X, Y, and Z with their phones? And my wife is like, well, we tell them that they have to keep their phones in the kitchen. And she said, how do you do that? And my wife said, well, we pay for the phone. We bought the phone. We pay for the phone line. We pay the bill every month. That's my phone that we're letting them use. And that's the end of that conversation. And this gal was like, well, how do you get them to bring the phone upstairs? And she's like, we don't get them to do it. We just tell them either bring it up or we'll shut the line off. It's that simple.
Yeah.
And then she was like, well, you do. And I said, well, you have to be willing. Like, that's the thing. Is that there is a lot of...
But you all took that approach from day one.
Yeah, there's a lot... Well, that's true. But there's a lot of lack of follow-through with parenting, right? Like,
absolutely.
Don't make a threat if you're not going to do it. Like, you have to be willing to follow through with whatever it is you say.
Yes. Yeah, but to that point, like, that parent's at a disadvantage because they've got to backtrack. Where y'all set a hard and fast expectation day one.
Yep.
They don't know any different.
Yeah.
Your kids don't know any different.
Right.
That's how it's been since day one.
Right. And I don't think I try to be as real as I can with my kids, right? Like, I'm not I don't consider that my wife and I are super strict parents, but like, we have some things that we feel strongly about, and then it's fuck around and find out. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
That's just it. And I'm not mean. I'm not like I consider myself, I think I'm a very good. I think I'm a very affectionate. I think I'm very attentive. I think I have given my children every opportunity and everything that they need and want in their lives. And I think that I have their best interest in heart. But I also, I'm not perfect, right? I have said some things I've had to apologize for. I've done, but I think that's where I think also not being afraid to admit when you're wrong. Not being afraid to humble yourself in front of your children, man, that goes a long way to building trust with your children. A long way.
Yeah, and one of the best compliments Sophia ever gave me was that she said, "Dad, I appreciate that when we get in an argument, disagreement, that although we may part ways and give ourselves space, that we come back and we talk about it. Bring closure to it," is what she was saying. And I think that's so important that you get in an argument and then you just forget about it. Well, what have you taught your child? Not to process that,
Right.
not to bring it closure and just bottle it in until you
Right.
explode.
Right.
That's not healthy.
Well, and
So.
you also can't bring that shit up then later on, right? You can't
Right.
you can't use that as fodder against them,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
And we all know we've been in situations and relationships and friendships that people do that shit. You know what I mean? Where
Sure.
they're like, hey, you remember those 9 times you didn't do X, Y, and Z? You're like, dude, you've been sitting on that. Like, if that was bothering you that much, like by number 2, you should have said something. You know what I mean? Like we're
Sure.
adults here, right? So. It's just that.
Just goes back to that healthy communication.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I completely agree.
So at the end of the day,
yeah.
parenting's hard. I mean, and to kind of circle back to the very beginning of the conversation, I'm sure my parents would say the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And we're saying the same thing today.
Yeah.
There's definitely that's definitely the same, regardless of generation. Parenting's hard.
Right.
And but damn, it's fun too.
Hey, disclaimer: by no means here on the MotoState podcast, by no means are we experts, or we do not take responsibility for decisions you may or may not make as a parent. We are only expressing our opinions at this point in time and letting you know from our own personal experience. There's the legal disclaimer for this podcast.
Yeah, what he said.
It's just an opinion, but
Yeah,
but
I mean, listen, yeah, we're not experts. This is our take on our personal experiences being parents, and if you guys have thoughts around this, or challenges that you've ran across, especially with the technology piece and parenting kids nowadays, drop it in the comments. Would love to, or talk about it. Bring it up in Discord if you're in Discord, and if you're not, you should be. But love to have a conversation around that. I think there's a lot to learn from other parents when it comes to this. I mean, just talk, for lack of better terms, talk and shop, right? Can go a long way.
Well,
go a whole long way.
And here's where I'm at with it too. Parents that don't have skin in the game, right? Like, your neighbor might not tell you the truth, but maybe somebody that lives across the country that just knows you for you, but doesn't know you as your neighbor. Maybe that person might speak truth to you. And I think that's I think that's one thing that's sorely needed right now in our country, is the ability to speak truth to somebody and have that information received, right? Not ignored, not automatically just discouraged or turned away or whatever. To have that information received, because I think the biggest compliment that you can pay somebody when you're having a conversation, when you ask for somebody's advice, is to shut the fuck up and listen.
Sure.
Right?
Well, listen to understand, not listen to respond. I mean, that's at the end of the day. If you can't, if you're just listening to respond, then just go the fuck home.
Right.
It shouldn't even be in the conversation.
Right. Yep. And that's about how. And if you guys have listened to Luke and I's conversations through the first 7 podcasts, point and counterpoint. Yes, we do agree on, I would say, a lot of things, right? But I can tell you by this conversation that while the foundation of our parenting is probably very similar, we have very different conversations, and we're both girl dads, both have girls of the exact same age, and we both live in the Midwest. So it goes back to, from a parenting perspective, and I'll never understand this. Like, the only way you learn to be a parent is from your own parents, right? Because you go to the hospital and they give you a child and they pat you on the back and say congratulations and make sure you put him in a car seat, right? But no one is teaching you how to be a parent, or no one's teaching you like the lessons, and that's going to be the hardest job you ever do in your life. It's going to be harder than any profession that you could ever have, because it's a human being. And it starts from the first time that they come out and you have to pick their name, right? I mean, go ahead and name your kid softball and see how that's going to work for the rest of their life. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
Like, you're picking the identity of a child who's going to be an adult, who's going to be a child, and then an adolescent, and a teenager, and then a young person and an adult, an old person, and you're picking the name. And yeah, it might sound great when they're, it might sound great when they're 4, but is it going to sound great when they're 44?
And I'll speak from experience. Whatever names you choose, call them by their first name, because going by your middle name is not fun.
Sure.
I don't know how many times people have said, I've been in a doctor's office, Jeffrey Smith, and I'm just like, oh shit, that's me. My bad. Sorry. So.
Yeah. So anyway, life lessons from Luke and Ryan on this day, on this podcast, this week's MotoState podcast.
Yeah, if you're still listening, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Like we've said, we're not going to talk motorcycles every single podcast. And peek behind the curtain, we were chatting not that long ago today about what subject to talk about, and I listed off 2 or 3 motorcycle. He's like, well, how about something not motorcycle related? I was like, oh yeah, I just kind of went down that rabbit hole, and we don't have to always talk about motorcycles. So thank you for suggesting this topic, Ryan. Guys, hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget, join Discord. We got the website, got the merch store. Give us a follow, like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. And again, drop some stuff in the comments. Let us know stuff that's worked for you and challenges you're having in this parenting world and this technology world, and maybe someone from across the country can give you some suggestions and help. And until next time, we'll see you next week.
We out.